Now then, guys, here we are again on the Welcome to the We Know Nothing show. We've had a little bit of a break, refreshed, signed some transfers on, got some free Bosmans going on, tried to get the board to buy some players, but we won't get into that at the moment. Episode 6, still going strong. Happy days. It's going to continue. We've got a few more special guests lined up in the next few weeks, but let's talk about tonight and the actual superstar that we've got on. The most cultured right back I've ever played with. Cruyff turns, throwing dummy, sending attackers for hot dogs during a game. Never seen out like it in my life. So a big welcome from the We Know Nothing show to the one and only Dave Scholes. Welcome to the show, son. Pleasure to have you.
All right. Good to see you.
Yeah, very good to have you. So as always, guys, I know I bore you with this last bit, but like we've said, it's literally just a couple of lads just getting on, having a bit of banter about football, talking about something that we absolutely know nothing about. And any feedback is warranted, but let's try and keep the negativity out. And if you want to get involved, we've got the email address, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook. Just give us a holler on either of them and we'll get you involved. I'll hand over to the Bezzy now. Anthony, crack on, son. Anthony, that felt weird. Younger, crack
Thanks
on,
very
mate.
Much. Cheers.
Anthony,
Who's Sunday? It's a new guy coming in. He's joining in a minute. So again, thanks for joining us, Scholesy, tonight. So we're going to go and talk about Arsenal, a little bit about Burnley, because obviously they're sort of your two main clubs that I would say that you sort of follow, and then we're going to go into your venture. You've got your 6 connections and your mindset, and we're going to let you just really have a conversation about them. But we're going to start off with Arsenal. So let's go right in. Your transfers so far this window. Me and Mark had a bit of a conversation about this a few weeks ago, and we give you a 5 out of 10 on our predictor of how well it went for you. It's arguably got a little bit better now you've added Ben White, but you spent 50 million on him. You bought a guy called Samba Lokonga. Is that how you say his last name?
We'll go with that for now.
I don't know too much about him. Mark, below or above, whichever way he is, might know a little bit more about him for me. But for me, your big loss is letting David Luiz leave, just because, and we said it last week, he is a bit of a hothead, but he's old and bold now, and he has that experience, potentially bring some of the younger lads through. But I'll let you have a little bit of a go on your transfers and how you feel the club's gone so far.
Yeah, it's such a weird one with Arsenal. Every transfer window. I mean, to be honest, 50 million on Ben White, is it too much? Yeah, of course it is. He's an English centre-half, though. And you look at it and you go, you can never win with Arsenal. They don't spend any money they tight. They spend money, they're spending too much. And the problem with Arsenal is they're not attractive anymore. So they've not got the pull of the big clubs. So they're always going to spend more. Everybody knows that they've got to prove a point. So you can stick 5-10 million onto anything, can't you? And reality of it is, I didn't think we'd get Ben White. I didn't think he'd come anywhere near us, because I think he's too good for us at the moment. I think from that point of view, I think it's a cracking signing. He looked superb at the weekend. Looked half decent. He looks like a leader, which is a change at the back. The boy that you were talking about there, Young, he's sat in midfield the last couple of games and looked decent.
And quality player.
Yeah, he's looked really good. He's only 21. I'd heard good things about it, but again, you always do, don't you, players coming in. But with Partey being injured first 2 or 3 games, I think he'll play. And I think if he plays and finds his feet, I think he'll do all right.
I look forward to seeing him.
Keeping Smith Rowe's a big shout. I think that's useful. I think Arteta's got a way that he wants to play, and I don't think he's got the players he needs to do it. And I think that's why the likes of Luiz and, it's why he don't fancy Leno in goal. I think it's why he's letting Willock go, which is a strange one for me.
Strange one.
I think he could end up being brilliant at Newcastle, but he also could end up being woeful. So it's one of those, isn't it? We've got to get money in to buy. So if we've got to get money in to buy, somebody's got to go. And then you look at the players we're trying to flog: Bellerin, Lacazette, Abba to some extent. Nobody wants him. So if we can't flog them, you're then going, right, who's fringes that's a bit younger? Willock, Eddie Carter, those kind of lads.
Yeah.
Two of your players that you name there, though, the two players, your attacking players, and they have been sort of the players that everybody in football has been waiting for them to go. Your Lacazette type players. Like, when are they going to show that next, 1-2 seasons? First season, usually it's a bit of a stumbling and you're getting to use, there are a couple of seasons in, if not 3 seasons in, both of them now. They've got to start proving that they're that type of player, haven't they?
Yeah, and it's a strange one because Aubameyang first season was brilliant, but last season he was woeful. Whereas Lacazette started to look like a player again back end of last season.
I think the biggest problem for me, for Arsenal, is what you said. You've hit the nail on the head with what you said about Arteta. Arteta has come from good stock with Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola gave him that assistant manager's role and said, let me nurture you, let me do this, let me do that, watch how I do it, watch how I play, and then you can either adapt that style when you go into management or use my management style to adapt a different style. The players that Arsenal have got, and I think this is one of the reasons why Willock is being allowed to go, is because you've got quite a few players along the similarity and talent of Willock. So they're looking at Willock and being, right, Willock was on loan at the end of last season with Newcastle. Wasn't a big loss because you already had that kind of player at Arsenal anyway. But the lad, the Locania player who you were talking about in Middle Park, he came with an endorsement of Company. And Company had said this lad is the next big thing, and Arsenal have done well to get him.
And the same as the same thing as well.
Yeah, exactly, and the same as the young lad who you've got from Benfica, the left back. I can't remember his name. He's come with a big reputation as well. So I like the fact what he's trying to do, but I think the problem what you've got at Arsenal now is that you're not a draw anymore. No. And I think this is fundamentally the problem. But 50 million on Ben White could look like short change because he can play in midfield as well. He can play in midfield, and I think you're right. I think
and he plays the ball. He can beat him. He reminds me a lot of himself, to be honest. He can beat a lad from centre half.
What?
I'll tell you the player we should say. If we sign this player, I think this will be the difference. If we can get Martin Odegaard back from Madrid, rather than buying Maddison and people like that. I think if we can draft him in, he started to look like a player that could deliver. And reality is, Arsenal will be lucky to finish top 6 this season. And there's a bit of me going, why don't we play Martinez and these kind of younger lads? Why don't we play Smith Rowe every week and give him a run and see what we've got? If
see what they can do.
Season, reality is, we're not going to finish any lower than we did last season. I'd like to think we could finish top 8 with that side we've got. Let's start playing some of these, they're 21, 22. Play them every week. Play Saka every week. Why? I mean, you look at that and go, Tierney. I mean, Tierney's class. We've probably got, in that 11, 5 players that I definitely wouldn't swap. And 6 that if they went, you went, do you know what? I'd miss them, but if we got something in equal quality, I'm all right with that. But I think
so. Here you go. Here's your next question then. Your 5 players that you wouldn't swap, would them 5 players get into your invincible team?
That's a shout. That was because a good side, that.
The invincible team was a very good side, but arguably, you've got some very good players in your squad at the minute, and they got onto a roll, the invincible team, didn't they? And it was constant, and they kept going, and they weren't winning week in, week out.
No.
But they knew how to get over that line at the end of the day, and whether it was a draw or a win, they were getting there.
I think in that side, looking at it, I mean, player for player, when you start to talk about your Henrys and your Bergkamps, nobody's getting anywhere near them. No one's getting anywhere near Vieira in the middle. We had England's keeper in there. You're talking about big solid. I tell you, who might get in. Kieran Tierney might get in.
Yeah.
I only think I personally think that the only player that would get in that Invincibles team, just because of his doggedness, just because of how he works, is Tierney. I think all the rest of them, and this isn't a criticism of the players of this generation, but all the rest of them are a little bit powder puffed to be in that Invincibles team. Like, who would out of the 5 lads that you were saying about swapping the players? And I wouldn't go into a 50-50 with him now, never mind back then, and I don't think anyone would. But who would have gone into a 50-50 with Roy Keane out of them 5 players? When Roy Keane, with his veins popping out his head, going for that ball, whereas Vieira would have just gone straight at him.
Mate, there aren't many players in the Premier League that do that.
The other one that might get in, but I've not seen enough of him yet, but he looks like he could be the player. I reckon Thomas Partey could do the job of Gilberto.
Yeah. He's a good player. He come with a big reputation. Yeah, very good player.
He started to look good. He got injured again, but he looked the part. He actually looked the part with Granit Xhaka, so he must be a player. So I think
that's how I looked a player.
If you saw enough of him, and then I think you look at other players in there that could. I mean, you look at the lads that were playing on the wing. You know, your Perez's and your Lundbergs. You think Saka's probably a similar at his peak. He's not at his peak yet, but you think,
of course,
if he carries on, that's an opportunity in there. But
he's got a bit more pace than Freddie Lundberg as well, hasn't
he? Yeah.
Freddie Lundberg were very technical. Freddie Lundberg were very good at a bit like you, Younger, like the reverse pass and the No.
Knew his strength, he knows his strength. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. Just very good on the ball and very, he can play that pass without even looking and stuff. And he knew where his players were. But yeah, I think you have got some very good players and very good talent coming through. But it's just whether or not you can actually build on it and actually do something this season. So
and I think it's back to that David Luiz thing, isn't it? Is there a leader in there? I think there might be. You look at people like Rob Holding and stuff like that. They're a lot more vocal than some Arsenal players that we've bought in. Whether it's I don't know, but I'm quietly confident that we'll look better. Whether we'll finish better, I don't know. But I think we'll look a slightly less fluffy shape than we have done.
Yeah.
And another question I was thinking of was the 25 million that you're going to get for Willock. If it comes in 25 million, one big lump.
Yeah.
Where do you spend that? Do you spend it on loan money for a couple of players, or do you try? Because 25 million is not a lot of money in this day and age.
No.
We've just seen Jack Grealish go for 100 million to Man City. So, we were talking about 25 million. It's not a lot in Burnley's pockets.
No, it's not. You look at that, don't you, and go. And the problem we've got is it's like a lot of footy in it at the moment. You've got to get rid of players before you can buy players. Not because you haven't got the money, you haven't got the space.
Yeah.
So for me, I actually thought Tammy Abraham might be a good buy for us. Simply because I think if you get him in a team where he's loved a bit and rated a bit, and
he'll score goals for you.
He'll score goals for you. And he was an Arsenal fan as a kid and all that kind of stuff, which never. He seems to me like an Arteta kind of player. Arteta strikes me as a manager that'll stick an arm round for a bit. And what they say in Rome are talking 36 mil, aren't they? For me, that seems like good money and it's a risk in it. Of course it is. He could flop, but the problem is we've got to get rid of somebody before we bring Tammy Abraham in. So for me, that'd be an half decent buy. We seem to be spending a lot of time trying to buy a keeper. I know he got slated for getting rid of the boy to Villa, but he had a choice to make for me. He did all right in a few games at the end of the season, but he also had a lad that was playing in goal for Germany. It was a flip of a coin, and he got it wrong. Leno still looks a good shot stopper for me. Can he play the ball out like Arteta wants him to? No, he can't. But he's not a bad keeper, and
Ramsdale for me though. I'm surprised with the Ramsdale one.
They've just pulled out.
They have. Because if you'd have got him for 20-25 mil, I can understand that. But he's still only going to be playing second choice, isn't he? Or you're going to have a really good keeper in there, which is the problem we've just, we got rid of.
Yeah.
He's also been relegated like 3 times,
Yeah. He's been
arguably it's 11 men on a pitch, but still. He's been in 3
you look a good keeper if you're busy, don't you? You look at like your fantasy league stats and all that kind of stuff. If you're busy,
clean sheets and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, if you're busy, you make some saves, don't you? So you start to look. If you're facing 15 shots in a game and you save 10 of them, you look all right, but you might have let 5 in. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing, isn't it?
That's me.
Yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's it. I think he's got to prioritise. If we can get a back four that's solid, I think that's not too bad. If Bellerin went and Trips came in, I'd take that. I don't think that's a bad move for us. Midfield looks all right. I mean, on paper,
you've got a good squad. Yeah, it don't look bad. It's just the application.
We're not scoring goals. Aubameyang hasn't scored in 6 pre-season games, which is worrying, isn't it, when you've played Watford and Millwall?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That is worrying.
And they're talking about Saturday, him not playing. Sorry, Friday night. They're talking about him not playing, which on form is absolutely right, but he's your captain. You can't
drop your captain, can you? It's like...
No, not for game one.
He's your biggest asset, isn't he, in that sense?
Yeah, but he's playing out left, isn't he? And he's not... I don't think that's for him.
No, it's not.
No.
So you are 12 games into the season, or 10 games into the season. You are in the bottom half of the Premier League. Do you get rid of Arteta and try and bring another one of these fantastic foreign managers in? No names mentioned, but... Or do you let that stick out and let him have the longevity to build his game that he's learnt from arguably one of the top 3 managers that the world has ever seen, really?
Yeah. When you started saying that, Young, it got very real very quick. When you're in the bottom half of the league, 10 games, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like us.
That's obviously, I'm just... You could... Your team easily could be 10 games in and sat comfortably in the top 2 of the Premier League.
Yeah,
players start firing. You start playing that ticky-tacky football, and you start scoring goals. And I
think the interesting one at Arsenal is I think it's a bigger problem than just the manager. I think that's the issue Arsenal have got.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But at the same time, the board, by what they've done over the summer, they believe in it. Like they've had to listen. They've had to listen because the fans have gone bonkers. You know what I mean? It was, let's sell the fellow that owns Spotify and all that kind of stuff. They had to do something, which I think they've done. They've made a few statements. Is it 100%? No. Is it? But I mean, when Chelsea brought in their new boy, obviously it changed everything really quickly. Didn't it? It would be the same scenario, wouldn't it? But it might not work. 100% it might not work. I just think there's a bit of structure at Chelsea there's a bit more to float around, isn't there? You bring a new manager and you can spend 200 million. Arsenal won't be doing that. Whoever comes in, they
won't be spending that amount of money. I think Chelsea will be there and thereabouts this season for me, though.
I think so. I'd stick with him. I think just because, and my other concern would be, you've got to be careful what you wish for, haven't you? Who would come to Arsenal?
I've heard there's a manager on block that might be able to do a job in Arsene Wenger. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I think he starts well, but he's very hard to get rid of.
So I've sort of one more thing on this.
Go on.
Your big 3 London clubs.
Yeah.
It definitely goes Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal at the minute.
Yeah.
There's no... You can't... I don't think you can even change your own mind on that, can you, at the minute? Just with the way
I wonder whether Spurs will struggle.
I think Tottenham...
And it's a very close second and third. Chelsea have gone. They've gone and spent money again. They turned their season around last year. They had a good end of the season. It looks like they've just signed Romelu Lukaku, who's been on fire. Can he carry on that form in the Premier League? He's tried it before. It's not worked out great for him, but let's see where that goes. But it is a club that Tottenham have not done a lot in the transfer window. They might still lose Harry Kane to either Manchester City or Manchester United if the rumours are correct that Man United are about to drop a decent sized bidding for him as well. it could be their season.
Brentford, mate, to be honest.
I was just going to say, take Tottenham out of the equation.
That London Big Three, we might not even be in. I was
just going to say, take Tottenham out of the equation, bump Arsenal at 1, and put Brentford in.
Chelsea, Watford, Brentford. That's where he's going to finish.
Chelsea, that's it. This is it. No, I agree with you, Youngie, what you're saying about that. I think the top 3 sides, top London sides, obviously, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, but Tottenham and Arsenal are very, very similar in the sense of what they're trying to achieve. I think Nuno's, and we spoke about this, I think, on the second show about Tottenham, and we were saying about it. For me, I think Nuno was 1,000% the plan Z backup plan. Nobody wanted the Tottenham job. No. They panicked. I think they've panicked and give it Nuno. And don't get me wrong, I think Nuno's a good manager, but he's not a Tottenham manager. You cannot replace Jose Mourinho with Nuno Espirito, and that's no disrespect to Nuno, because I think he's a very good manager. However, you're getting rid of a natural-born winner, Mourinho, that struggled with Tottenham. With Nuno, you've got all this noise in the background about Harry Kane. That's not going to be good for the club. And I just think that you and Tottenham at the minute, I think you're neck and neck for like shithousery about what's going on with your clubs and stuff like that. And I think that's, your fans are going mad. Don't get I buzz off Arsenal TV, me. If I'm having a bad day, I just stick 10 minutes on Arsenal TV.
That's all you need, isn't it?
Love it.
Mental health and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, what? Get that on. Get Arsenal TV on. But no, I think you're right there, Youngie. Tottenham.
It'll be interesting to see that one. And I think, from a league point of view, you look at it, don't you? Chelsea are out of sight for me. City are out of sight. United will look a very good side this season, I think. Liverpool's an interesting one for me. I think they're either going to be in there or they're going to have another struggler.
Yeah. And
then you've got that drop, haven't you? Probably the next group that aren't going to be any. There's going to be 10, 15 points between those 4 and anything else. Yeah. Your Everton's
surprise package this season. Villa.
I think Villa will be decent. I think West Ham will be decent as well. On the
West Ham will be good.
Leicester have been thereabouts, haven't they, for a while as well. So
they'll be there. I mean, they're always consistent. You look at them, don't you, on paper, and they look a decent side.
Let's just do what they do every year.
The centre off from Southampton, Leicester, haven't they, as well? So
Vestergaard.
They're young. Their centre off just broke his leg in pre-season, didn't he? So
Leicester will bottle it though. Leicester will bottle it.
You reckon?
Yeah, every guaranteed. Leicester will do what they do every single season. They'll get there and thereabouts, and just when they're on the cusp of it, they'll bottle it. I don't know whether that's a mentality.
I think the Spurs actually, they've got that winning mentality and all that kind of stuff in the mix.
And then it just goes out the window.
You regularly talk about doing a Spurs, great. Spurs have been Spurs again. Good on you. You know what I mean? We'll see. I'll come back to me in 10 games, Youngie, and we'll have a chat.
Yeah, I think we will.
We'll get you back on.
Obviously, we were going to talk about some of the older lads that played, your Thierry Henry, your Ian Wright, your Patrick Vieira, and quality players. But time is moving on, so we're going to have to. We'll skip them for this night, and we'll bring them back in at another time to have a good old chat. Because we want to touch on Burnley briefly. They've not done anything.
No.
They've bought a backup centre half in. We already had one of them, and we shipped him off to Norwich. And it looks like we're going to bring in Aaron Lennon. Who Sean Dyche said when he left, he didn't want him to go in the first place. But what's your thoughts on Burnley's?
It's such a strange one, because as a kid, I had a season ticket for a couple of seasons and loved it. And being from Burnley, there's just something about the club that you love. You look out for him, and it's just how it is, isn't it? Whether you support somebody else as I do, there's something in there, and you just want them to do well, don't you?
Yeah,
I'm turning away on this segment. This is me bubbling, looking at the wall. Ready not to throw something.
And I think it's one of those, and I think the good thing about Burnley is, unlike a lot of other clubs, the mates that I've got that strong clarets, talk common sense about the game. There's no, people like yourselves and DJ and stuff like that. When you talk about, it's not this idea of grandeur that we're going out and buying all these players. We could do a bit better than what we've got.
Yeah.
Without too much rocket science. And
fundamentally,
yeah.
I'll tell you what the problem is with our club. This is fundamentally what the problem is for me. When we were talking about Arteta earlier, and Youngie, you made a great point about they've gone and spent big on Ben White because Arteta's realised he's been at City where they're company, a leader, captain, motivator, absolute worldie of a player. They've seen Arteta would have seen the same qualities in Ben White as he's seen in company and said, "Get me that boy." Right? I think the problem that we have is that Sean Dyche doesn't like the kind of player that Burnley need, i.e. a little bit of someone who's got a bit of a swagger about him, a bit of quality, a bit of flair, will run up and down the wing and try and nutmeg someone and laugh at him when he's going past him and entertain the crowd and stuff. Sean Dyche likes people that are going to run through brick walls for you. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all, because you need that in your team. But also you need the quality and you need a little bit of flair. And I found myself getting really irritated with the fact it's the same old excuse every single transfer window. We haven't identified the right player. We've not done this. We've not done that. I'd love to get into the brain of Sean Dyche to understand what kind of player he wants at our club, because the players that they've signed, Collins is a backup to Tarky and Ben Mee. Kevin Long has been established from third choice to fourth choice now. So you've got Collins, who's going to be the ready-made fit, and then you've brought in Wayne Hennessy, who's a good solid pro. I don't mind them two signings. However, we're 18 days away from the transfer window finishing. We've got no links whatsoever to say we've got players.
Sniff, is there? That's the worrying
nothing,
thing.
Absolutely nothing. No sniffs, no nothing. And me and Youngie messaged a couple of days ago saying it's an absolute shambles that the fact that he's come out and said he didn't want to lose Aaron Lennon in the first place. For me, if Aaron Lennon is being brought back in as a backup player to replace Brady, that's absolutely fine, because you're replacing a body with a body. No problem with that. But we have, on our books, we have two registered wingers. That is Goodmudson and Dwight McNeil.
Yeah.
If one of them gets injured, you're then having to go into the realms of playing Josh Brown along right hand side when he should be in the middle of the park, or Eric Peters at left back and Charlie Taylor at left mid. And then your whole shape and your whole system goes out the window then, because you've got players playing in positions that they're used to, but they're not. That's not the strongest forte.
No.
For me, I just find it embarrassing as a club.
It's odd, isn't it? You look at it and think, clubs like Leicester that are picking players up from lesser leagues and lower leagues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because there's no, in the nicest possible fashion, there's no huge expectation from Burnley fans in terms of position.
No.
Other than not going down.
We just have to stay up every year.
Finish fourth from bottom.
Yeah, fourth from bottom, playing well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just, you look at it going, and it's back to the Arteta thing. I think your point you made about Dyche there is a really great point, because he played a certain way, didn't he? And it's like he can't see beyond that. And Arteta, you see that sometimes in the players he's brought in, but at the same time, he's brought in players from a Pep style. He was a workhorse. He wants players to run. He wants players to close the ball down.
He wants the quality.
Yeah, of course. But he's been hanging around with quality for a lot of years, hasn't he? So he wants to bring quality in.
That's my rant over.
Great. I mean, to be honest, I thought that was quite restrained.
Yeah. So just so we know, I've just had the thing up that said we've only got 10 minutes left of our 40-minute session. So if it cuts out, what we'll do is we'll just jump back on and I'll just cut it.
Right.
Because I really want you to get your point across on these next two. So we'll leave Burnley there. They've had a shocking window. We all agree on that. All being well, in the next 18 days or so that we've got left in the transfer window, we can bring a few bodies in that are going to play the Dyche way. And
we're available. We're all available.
Yeah.
If they want someone to run through a brick wall.
To be fair, Scholes is probably better than our right backs that we've got at the minute.
I didn't make a tackle for 6 years, so I'll fit right in, won't I?
That's it.
That's because you had Gaz Smith and Youngie doing your tackling.
That's all you needed. Just got to have mates around you. That's all you need.
So at this point, all I'm going to do is I really just want to hand over to you, Scholes, and just let you talk about you and what you've got going on, and we'll just sit and listen and drop our hands in and have a little chat here and there. But I'm just really interested in what you've got going on and how it's all going for you, really.
Brilliant, yeah, happy with that. I think we were saying before we started, this is good. We've probably not caught up for years, but we've just got back into a call and just started bantering away like it's never been away, which I think is a brilliant thing. So yeah, I kind of fell into the whole space of mental health and well-being about 2 years ago, which it's hot topic in it at the present moment of time. Everybody's talking about it. But I get a bit of my background. I lost my best pal to suicide 10 years ago, which just knocked me absolutely sideways. My best pal from uni, lad I was in a band with, all this kind of stuff. And as with a lot of the stories that I hear about people that have lost people, came from nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Life and soul of the party, unexpected. 10 years ago, I knew jack all about mental health, in the nicest possible fashion, like most people. I didn't recognise anything in that, weddings and all that kind of stuff, as you do when you hook up with mates that you've not seen for a while. It was just normal. And I spent a couple of years, being totally honest, of just trying to navigate that, spending time blaming myself, going, what could I have said? What could I have done differently? And at the same time, I was doing a lot of this charitable stuff as well. So I was working in the charitable sector and doing some stuff with footy projects and working with lads that were, ex-offenders and recovering addicts and all this kind of stuff. And I was finding that was really helping me. Helping other people get through some stuff was a big part of helping myself. That me mum and dad, that's my background. I'm from a family that gives out a lot, and I needed to do something. And I think in this process, probably for a couple of years of me, doing the doctor stuff and doing the meds and doing some counselling, some of which were brilliant, some of which was absolutely horrendous. First doctor I ever went to see told me, because I like football and snowboarding, I should go out and enjoy my life. I'd gone in saying I was depressed and my mate had died. And I'm going, you're the person that's meant to fix me. And you haven't. And I was lucky because I went back into good family and good mates.
Yeah.
And they picked me up and went, there's other options, Dave. And I had mates that worked in hospital and said, I know this, this counselling you can go to, or these elements. And, I had some really good people, professional, but I had some really good people that were mates that just went, come on, Dave, do you want to go out for a pint? I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you, pal. Whatever it looks like, whatever time, just ring us, just bell us. If you want to go out and talk about this, brilliant. If you want to go about and talk about something different, also brilliant. We'll go out for a pint before footy. We'll go on I started going to Chorley. That was one of the things I started doing in the midst of all this, because a pal of mine started going. And it became my thing a couple of years ago on a Saturday afternoon, just going and having a pint and going and watching non-league football. Yeah. Brilliant. So a couple of years ago, I've been doing a lot of stuff in kind of the whole charitable space and working with a lot of people that were doing well-being and mental health. And it was, as you both know, it was coming into work even more and more people were talking about it. And I thought, I'm not sure this kind of tick box element for it works for me. Let's do a workshop and we'll tick it off and we've done it as a business, or let's train one person up to be our well-being champion. I thought, I don't think that's enough. And I kind of sat back and went, I've navigated this as a pretty normal lad from Burnley on my own, but with help from mates.
Yeah.
There must be more people like me that could do with hearing some of this stuff and starting, with a bit of help just to start that first conversation than there are experts out there. Because if we can hit this at prevention stage rather than at crisis stage, actually that's better for people, because it gives them more chance to maybe manage some of this stuff rather than have to fight some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did. So I had this idea around, I want to put some stuff into the workplace because that's just where I thought people would be. You know, let's deliver some stuff, but let's make it about culture change. Let's make it about how do you help the person that sits next to you, you know, rather than it going to HR or hockey health or all this kind of stuff. How do we just get lads talking like this, women talking like this, but not kind of putting mental health on a pedestal, going, right, I was last night's footy scorer. How you doing? Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm not doing so great. Right, okay, let's deal with that. What are you having for tomorrow night's tea? It had to be in the middle for me, in you know, the pub conversation, the Saturday afternoon on the turf, whatever that looked like. That's what I thought it was going to be. So we set up this business with an idea to put some stuff back. You know, we'll do some free stuff. We'll do the charitable element because that was big for me. And we set it up 2 weeks before lockdown hit, which probably wasn't the best time to set up a brand new business. So I had a couple of weeks of meltdown, boys. I'll be honest, you know, the thing that I felt I was on the planet to do, you know, legacy for me, mate. We're going to create something brilliant out of this horrible situation. Yeah. I'm going for it. All guns are blazing. 2 weeks in, I can't get into any of the places that I need to get into to do the thing that I feel I'm designed to do. So, yeah, I guess with a couple of minutes left before the break, I had this moment of going, I'm watching all this stuff appear on screen, you know, here are the top 5 tips for working from home this week. I'm going, they're not relevant for me. You don't even know me. How can you be suggesting what's going on? So maybe we don't need to start trying to answer some questions. We need to start asking the questions in the first place. And I thought, right, you know, going for a pint with a mate and going for a brew with a mate was good for me. Maybe that's what we need to do. Just create some spaces where people can come for a brew and be quite open and not be about mental health or well-being. Just come and have a bit of a space to take a breath and talk with some other people that might be going through some similar stuff. So that's probably a good breaking point, Young, to be honest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so too.